When people speak about Kanye West, the world often sees extremes: success and breakdown, genius and controversy, worship and chaos. But if we look through Scripture, we see something deeper. The way God speaks about every person who is gifted, flawed, and fighting through their calling. God would not define Kanye by headlines or scandals. He would define him the same way he defines every soul: loved, pursued, and never beyond redemption. God would say that Kanye carries influence, and influence always comes with responsibility. Luke 12:48 teaches that to whom much is given, much is required. Kanye's creativity, platform, and voice are not accidents. They're tools, but tools must be surrendered to God to be used wisely. Influence without surrender becomes confusion. Influence in God's hands becomes purpose. God would also say that Kanye's struggles do not disqualify him. Throughout Scripture, God worked through people with complicated stories. David, who battled his own desires. Samson, who fought inner chaos. Peter, who acted impulsively. Paul, who carried a past darker than any headline. God doesn't wait for perfection to use someone. He works through brokenness to reveal his strength. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, "My power is made perfect in weakness." Kanye's weakness doesn't erase his calling. It draws attention to the need for God's grace. God would remind him that spiritual passion must be rooted in spiritual discipline. Talent can ignite attention, but only character sustains purpose. Scripture teaches in Proverbs 4:23, "Guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." God would call Kanye not just to create Christian music or speak Christian words, but to cultivate a heart aligned with him daily, in private, in silence, in humility. Noise and chaos can drown out identity. God's voice restores it. God would speak to his identity directly, not as a celebrity, not as a brand, not as a controversy, but as a son. Isaiah 43:1 says, "I have called you by name. You are mine." God sees Kanye beneath the fame, beneath the pressure, beneath the persona. God sees a man searching for meaning, longing for stability, and battling inner storms. God's response is not condemnation, but invitation: return, rest, realign. God would challenge him to separate calling from ego. A gift is holy only when surrendered. God would remind him that worship is not performance, but obedience. That leadership is not spotlight, but service. That healing is not found in applause, but in God's presence. And God would speak hope over him. Scripture is filled with people who had seasons of collapse before they walked into clarity. God's story for Kanye is not determined by failures or public mistakes. It's determined by what happens when he turns toward God again. Every prodigal has a home to return to, and every wanderer has a path back to purpose. What God would say about Kanye West is what he says about every one of us. You are more than what the world says. You are more than your mistakes. You are called, you are loved, and you are never too far gone for me to reshape your life. God's truth is not about canceling people. It's about redeeming them. And redemption is a story he is always willing to write.